Hi, I'm Pete and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. Well, the word of the day is hot and humid. Oh, wait a second. That's 3 words. Well, hot, humid, and windy. But the cloud cover's been such that I don't think the hay's dry, and it even sprinkled a little this morning, and there's a chance of thunderstorms coming this afternoon. So I'm headed out to check the hay. With that sky, I don't know. Phooey. She's nice and crunchy on top, but she's still got a good amount of green on the bottom. If I knew it wasn't going to rain, I'd rake it up to get this to dry. Boy, it's close. I don't know. Let's look at a few more patches. The problem is if I rake it up and then it rains, then I got to spread it all back out to dry. So this is one of those judgment calls when making hay. I'm going to rake it up and take my chances. There we go. I feel the need to comment on my wobbly muffler here. I just stuck it on there coming out of the shop. It'll come right back off. It's not hurting anything except for folks that have OCD. Well, here we go. I can't tell you how pleased I am with how nice this tractor runs. Boy, it's beautiful. 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go. I hope the weather works out. That's the nature of haying, right? Split the field in the middle. Here's a question I get all the time. Why is single raking when you're going to round bale? Don't you want a double windrow so that you don't have to weave? Well, the answer is I'm always racing the weather. Every time I make hay, I'm racing the weather. I single rake it so that the windrows will dry out faster. And I've really found that even when I can't double them, I still got to weave the round baler to get good bales. So it doesn't really matter either way. But those efficiency elves, they're always after me. Well, since I'm in a hurry, you're going to get the old Mandarake for a while on his favorite tractor. I don't know. He hasn't used this tractor for field work since 1990 something or other, so it's been going on 30 years. About ready to bale. Dries pretty quick once you get it up. A little bit of green in there. I think he's enjoying himself. In fact, I think he'd probably pay me to do this job for me. Well, I guess I might as well go get the baler. Here we are, all hooked up and ready to go. Yeah, it's still raking down there. Gotta drop the pickup. Let's go! Here's the first bale. The hay's a little wetter than I would like. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to wait a little while longer, but oh, with the sky, who knows? Dad's pretty much finished raking. I think he's taking a victory lap, but I'm sitting here waiting to see if the grass will dry. Well, about an hour's passed and I don't think I can wait anymore. Those clouds don't look good at all. The hay's right on the line according to my feel, and I think it'll be okay. The hay is definitely okay. I can tell by the sound of the rustle going into the baler. It's just the sound it makes. It's dry. And put these in. Ready to unload. Twine arm out. Wrapping the bale with twine. Shut off the baler. Back it up a little bit. Dump the bale. I was racing the weather, so I didn't have the time to put up the drone or do a lot of the fancy camera shots that I normally do. Instead, I'll tell you my history with making hay and why I enjoy it so much. Making hay is really an art, and it requires a lot of good judgment. I don't have any of those fancy moisture meters or any of that stuff, and I like it that way because you should know by feel and sound when hay is ready to bale. I guess you just learn that feel through experience, and that brings me back to one of the first jobs I had when I was a little kid, which was driving the tractor raking hay. My grandfather had an old crank start Alice Chalmers B with a bench seat on it that two people could ride on. And I think I was probably 4 or 5 years old when I started driving that tractor raking hay, and I loved it. I loved driving that little tractor. As soon as I could sit on the seat of the H, my grandfather had me driving his old Farmall H, and I remember I would work the throttle. He would tell me which number to set it to because it had an M&W throttle on it with numbers for different throttle speeds. I would control the throttle and he would stand next to me on the tractor and push in the clutch and shift the gears for me, and as I got taller I was able to do it by myself, and I drove the tractor a lot with my grandfather riding along with me. Grandpa made hay the old-fashioned way. No, not with a scythe, but he cut it with a sickle bar, and it was an old sickle bar with smooth sickle sections. He'd cut for half a day, and then he'd have to take the knife out of the mower, and he would hand sharpen them while he sat under a tree for lunch, and then he'd put the knife back in and mow for the afternoon. Grandpa was a firm believer in having hay washed at least once before it went in the barn. Those were his words. And he would make sure it was plenty dry. I remember hay sitting down for 5 days a week. That was not uncommon. He had old bank barns, old wooden barns, and so, you know, people were really worried about hay catching on fire in their barns, so he was extra conservative. And he was never in a hurry to get it done. I can remember many days that I went out with him with pitchforks. We each had a pitchfork in our hand, and we would turn the hay in the fields by hand, walking along, him smoking his pipe, turning the hay with a pitchfork once it was in windrows after he'd raking it to flip the windrows over. It was slow work. Looks like I'm gonna make it. The sky's cleared off in the west. I've done some research on my old Gale baler that I'm pulling here, and it's completely normal for them to make that squealing sound when they start a bale. What happens is when the chamber's empty, the belts ride against one of the drums that's not spinning and make that squealing sound. And then as the bale starts and grows a little bit, the belts come out of contact with that drum and it quits making the sound. Completely normal. After my grandpa died and my dad took over the farm, hay baling got a lot more efficient. He bought a hay bind like I have, and we used the MD to make hay. But we still had some old equipment. We had a very old side delivery rake with giant metal wheels, and we had a baler. I remember the plunger on the baler, the side plunger that packs the hay in the chamber, was a wood board that would come in and out, and so when you walked around the baler when it was running, you have to be careful that you didn't get whacked by the board going in and out to pack the hay. So we had this old baler paired up to the MD, and of course the old MD was really hard to start when it was cold. Now I know why. The engine was pretty tired. The baler was the opposite. The baler had a Wisconsin air-cooled 2-cylinder engine on it with a big flywheel in the front, and you would yank on the flywheel to start it. It was a hand start engine. But once you got that Wisconsin engine started, you did not ever shut it down until you were done for the day, because if you shut it down hot or it ran out of gas, you could not get the thing started. And that's something that all old Wisconsin engines share from what I hear. I suspect that probably they run so hot that the gasoline vapor locks when it stops flowing when you shut the engine off, and then you can't get it started again. This is all the reason I love making hay so much, and I kind of stick to some of the old methods because every day I'm out doing it, it brings back good memories for me, all the way to when I was 4 years old, going through college and helping my dad make hay, and then making hay myself. I'm proud of making good hay. It is really an art form. 4 more rows, plus the headlands. But wouldn't you know it? I got a flat tire. Well, we'll jack her up and see if we can fix her. It's a tubeless tire, so it's got to get seated back on the bead. This is a bumpy field, and I imagine it hit a bump and came off the bead. Well, I went over and took a good tire off one of the hay wagons, and I'm just going to replace it because I ain't got time to screw around with it. I'll fix it later. Luckily, farm rims usually have the same bolt pattern. If it's a 6-bolt, it'll fit on this. Just got to get it lined up. There. Well, that does it. I could have been eating dinner by now. One of Hillary's delicious creations.
I don't know about that.
Looks like it's got 34 pounds in it. Well, we're back in business. Well, I got one windrow left. It's starting to get kind of dark. At the end, and you always need to remember with this baler, you got to leave a slug of hay to tie the final bale, because that's what starts the twine. Well, how many bales do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One little guy there, a misfire, and almost a full one in the chamber, so we'll call that 10 even. Hey, while I'm letting the tractor cool down, before I sign off, I wanted to let you know that on Thursday, this Thursday, I'll be at the New York Steam Engine Association's Pageant of Steam. It's a big tractor show, steam engines, old tractors of all different manufacturers. Anyway, I'll be there on Thursday, and it's in Canandaigua, New York. So if you live in the area, stop by. It's not like I got a booth or anything, but I'll be wandering around, and hopefully I'll see you. Say hi if you know me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I'm tired. I'm ready to go inside. Have a great day.